I think clarifying that has always been something that's been really powerful for many businesses, especially if you're newer in business, if you're not doing $1 million a year yet. Really honing in on who your target market is and who that audience is, insanely critical to be able to effectively get the business up and rolling.
Hey, boss family, it's Kay and Tanner here for another Wednesday watch. And we've been talking all about pitching your business, how to talk about your business. And we are thinking this is a great topic to cover is knowing your audience because if you're not talking to the right people, it can end up just being you could talk yourself blue in the face. But if you're talking to the wrong people, they're not going to get it. So putting yourself in the situations where you're meeting the right people and understanding the audience you're with, as well as being able to speak the language of the audience that's in the room. If you find yourself in a different kind of audience that you're not used to, this is going to be great for that. So, we're going to boost your communication skills so you can, again, talk about your business, knowing your audience that's around you. So, Tanner, I'd like to kick it off with some of your thoughts on knowing your audience.
Well, thank you. I love the topic of knowing your audience, because you can look at it a couple different ways, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit in kind of the introduction there. From being in a room with people and knowing the audience that you're around, whether that's a group of 10 people or you're on stage speaking to 100. Knowing that audience is really important, but then also knowing like who's the audience for your business and how are you marketing to them, whether that's from what networking events do I go to, or what types of strategic partners do I want to work with that have the type of audience, all the way up through like the big broad level of like social media and things like that. What platform tends to have the my audience on it and things like that. So it's hand in hand with target market. And I think clarifying that has always been something that's been really powerful for many businesses, especially if you're newer in business, if you're not doing $1 million a year yet. Really honing in on who your target market is and who that audience is, insanely critical to be able to effectively get the business up and rolling.
Oh, definitely. I agree with you there for sure, especially kind of like knowing that language, knowing your audience. And it's something that, I've had success in as well as some growth points in as well. Cause sometimes you're just talking to the wrong crowd or you're if you're not understanding the language like of like how you speak about your business, it's just not going to resonate. So one thing I like to do is, especially when I'm talking about my business, is to bring it down a few levels. Because,
Mm.
when you're a business owner, think about it. You eat, sleep, and breathe your business. You know the pain points, you know the things you're trying to accomplish, you know the inner workings. And sometimes we forget as business owners that when we start talking to somebody new about our business, that they're not there. They want to know that basic information about your business. And so I like to simplify a lot and
Mhm.
talk about the things, especially knowing, once I know my audience, if it's someone who is not in the industry that I'm in or is somewhere that's like really curious about it, I'm not going to dive in on like a like super in-depth level. I'm going to be at a more high level. And so thinking about how do you direct your language about around where they're at. So when you talk about it, the response is something like, "Oh, I like that. I get that. That's really cool. Tell me more." And
Mhm.
so what are some of your tips and tricks for simplifying your business language to reach your audience who may not have heard about your business before?
Yeah, I love that so much. And it reminds me of I do follow Alex Ramosey's stuff a bit, and I think he talks about bringing everything down to like a third grade reading level. And it's not to assume that people are not intelligent by any means. It's exactly what you said. It's like they're not going to be at the same level you are in terms of understanding what your business is and does and things like that. And I think some simple things that you can do is just like if you have any jargon or acronyms or things like that that you use in your business, like get rid of it if people don't know what you're talking about. Action coach, phenomenal one to use as like, let's throw us up on the chopping block when we start talking about whiffles and the whoosh at the end and like all these different things that we use, a BFO, and most people are like, what the heck are all those things? So it's just like remembering, I gotta take some of that language out because they're not into that camp yet. They haven't really understood kind of what it's like to be in that community of what So yeah, simplification, just at the fundamental level, what is it that you do, and how do you articulate that, and just very, very simply put, kind of looking at it that way. Now, I do have a caveat. The caveat would be, it depends on the audience that you're looking to serve to a degree. You still want to
Mhm,
simplify, but I'll give a quick little example, especially when I first started kind of creating more content online. And here, people here locally have seen some of that, and some of our clients have seen it, and people we've done business with in the past. And our target is business owners. Now that's a very broad spectrum of folks, and I think most of my languaging early on was, targeting the newer to business, just getting started, things like that. And I'm talking about these different things, but then we had, folks on the other end of the spectrum that happen to be clients are like, stop talking about that stuff. It's not relevant to me. I'm, 10 steps ahead of that. Speak to this level. And
mhm.
that does take a little bit more sophistication and a different use of languaging and a different way to articulate things. So I think it depends on who you actually want to be speaking to, will
Mhm.
kind of determine the level of simplicity that you bring into it. If you're looking to talk to people that are, you know, frankly, they're pulling in hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to millions per year in like personal income, and they've got a whole different lifestyle, and your target is business owners, like that's a different language that you have to
Mhm.
speak to than the, hey, I'm the startup entrepreneur, just came out of college, I don't even know what money is yet. It's
Mhm.
a completely different, subset of like language, and how we talk and connect with them, because life experiences are different, and where they're at is different.
That is so true, and that's why, that again, that knowing your audience, when you go into a space, or sometimes you can tell, like where you're walking into, like if it's a networking group or if it's a business luncheon or something that's very specific. But sometimes we don't have the luxury of knowing our audience right when we walk in the doors. So it might be a mixed group of all sorts of people across the gamut of either entrepreneurship or working in an office, whatever it is. So I have a little key trick to when I first start having a conversation with someone before I even think about talking about my business. I ask questions. I get to know them as a person and, start to ask those questions like, tell me about you, get to know them. And then you can kind of gauge to what level you can speak about your business. Like if they're, for me, I have a business in the music industry. So if someone expresses that they love music, or they really geek out about that, then I feel like I can maybe dive in a little deeper on that side of things. Or maybe there's someone I could collaborate with on an event or something like that. So asking questions is a great way to get to know your audience.
I love that. And the thing that came to mind for me is like, do your research. And I actually heard this, multiple times from multiple people, but in a kind of young professionals up and coming leaders program that I was a part of, we had brought in a presenter who has been on several very prominent boards and committees and things like that here in the local community. And he was talking about, how do we, find the right types of people, and to put on boards, et cetera, et cetera. But he's like, one thing that you always need to do is do your research.
Mhm.
Make sure that you know who is going to be in the room, have those conversations. So like before he came and spoke to the class, he was doing the research and was like finding out who are the people in the class and what do they do, and kind of what's the feeling of the program and things like that. So he knew what types of content to bring into the conversation. And I think while you can't do that every single time in every environment, the more that you can take that extra step and do a little bit of the research, like, all right, I'm going to a networking event, that networking event is in this city, and the folks that tend to go to these are of XYZ demographic, business, whatever, right? The more you can do the work, which I know sometimes is the hard part, just actually have to do the work, yes. But do the, just go in, do a little bit of research, kind of understand who it is that's going to be there, can set you up for that. And then when you do, walk in, you're like, I still don't know these people, but ask questions, and that can kind of at least set you up for, I should try to ask more of these types of questions and less of these types of questions, and be able to kind of peel back those layers. Because it's all about how do we understand the way that they communicate? Because then at the end of the day, we want to communicate in the way that they want to be communicated with.
Definitely, and that kind of to take that even a level deeper, like a lot of platforms now that have an RSVP to them, you can see the guest list and you can kind of scope out who's on the guest list. Is there somebody there that is someone you want to connect with? If you see a familiar face or someone who is in an industry that you want to specifically talk to, a lot of them have that. Once you sign up, you can see the bubbles with their everybody's faces in them, and you can kind of do a little bit of looking around and see if there's somebody that really stands out that you want to connect with when you're there. And even sometimes you can reach out, if you say you kind of know them or in the same circle as them, say you have a lot of mutual friends, something, it doesn't hurt to DM or say, hey, I see you're going to this networking thing. um the guest lists are open, people know that. And so yeah, like you could sometimes connect if it's like if you have a mutual or something. So
Mm.
you can prepare yourself for an event. Try not to get creepy, just just to kind of feel it out. Don't be like DMing every person in the on the guest list. But sometimes it can help just to, yeah, see who's going, see if you know anybody, connect with those people that way too.
Mm. So as we kind of start to wrap up the conversation, I want to pull it back to the knowing your audience from a target market standpoint, and I think tying and connecting these pieces together, because what we've been talking about is identifying and understanding your target market. It is understanding who it is that you're speaking to,
Mhm.
but sometimes as smaller business owners still kind of building up before you get to true scale, things like that, that refinement of the target market and knowing who truly is the audience that you want to serve is so important, and not always the easiest thing to do. Because especially if you're just like, I'm starting out, like I want to say yes to anyone because I need, like, revenue coming in the door.
Mhm.
But as you go through that process and figure out, these are the clients that I am like called to serve, I am the best working with these types of clients or customers, or whom have you. The better you can clarify that, the easier it is for you to tailor your service, to tailor your messaging, to tailor kind of everything that's going to serve them the best. When you try to be all things to everybody, nobody wins. But we can get really honed in on, like, I know that I am phenomenal at serving these individuals, then you can skyrocket in the terms of level of quality of service and things like that. And sometimes that means, yes, you have to say no to people.
Mhm.
Those that don't fit, at some point you're just going to have to tell them no, and oftentimes give them to a competitor because they may be a really good fit for a competitor and they're just not the right fit for you, and that's okay. But I know it's hard.
Mhm. That's a really great point, and that's something I've embraced, especially this year, is trying to really hyper focus on who I'm talking to, really know who I'm talking to right away, because our time is valuable and it helps to avoid a lot of overwhelm and burnout, because sometimes there's a lot of like audience fatigue, when you're dealing with a lot of people. It's really important to know where your time is most well served, and that helps both you and them. So yeah, that's a really really great advice, Tanner. And this has been another great conversation, and before we wrap up, you have an opportunity to chat with us because we have actually moved our perfect your pitch to next week. So we are going to be having a event on Facebook on our page. You can RSVP there. It's a free event, and Jody and I are going to be doing perfect your pitch. And we wanted to keep it open, so we're keeping it open for one more week. Definitely sign up. We'd love to see you there so we can help you get the right words to talk about your business, attract the right people, and really again know your audience. So definitely sign up there.
Beautiful. And for those that are watching this on YouTube, I will have something in the description below. If you have not joined the Facebook group and you want to join it, click the link, fill out the information, and we'll get you approved so you can take advantage of these cool free events that we're doing in the group.
Definitely. So thank you guys for checking out this Wednesday watch, and we'll definitely see you at Perfect Your Pitch. So have a good one, you guys.